Okay, so it's time to do the ultimate iPhone battery test video. Now before you skip to the end of the video for results, just hear some of my thoughts. Now as you can see, I tried to keep the brightness equal for all of these phones, which will be on the higher end because this is going to be an intense battery test video. Other than that, all these phones are at 100% battery health, except for the iPhone 13, 14 Pro Max and 15 Pro Max, which are roughly at 85% or so. Other settings are same between all of these phones, and the sound is at roughly 50% volume. Now the apps that I usually use in my battery test videos are Instagram, 4K video recording, HDR YouTube video, 3D Mark to simulate intense gaming sessions, TikTok, Facebook, Reddit, Chrome, etc. Now usually I try to use these apps for exactly 1 hour each, so that way we know how much battery is being drained by these apps, and then we move on to the next app in the list. Now right off the bat we can notice that with Instagram use, the iPhone 12 and 13 are falling behind rest of the iPhones. Now that is to be expected because the iPhone 13 is at 88% battery health, so it's not at its full capacity, and the iPhone 12 has the smallest battery capacity of the bunch at 2815 milliamp hours. So not exactly a surprise that these iPhones are behind the pack. Another special mention I want to do is for the iPhone Air, which I think is performing above expectations. Now initially I thought this phone might not perform that well because, as you all know, it doesn't have that huge of a battery, and at 6.6 inches of display, it needs a lot of juice to power these apps. But even then, after Instagram and other apps, it is performing on par with the iPhone 16 and 17 Pro Maxes of the world, and I think it's going to be performing really well in this video. Now you'll also be noticing that the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the 17 Pro Max are performing almost at the same level in these app tests, and that is kind of surprising for me because I thought the 17 Pro Max has a bigger battery, plus it has the A19 Pro chip and the vapor cooling chamber, so I thought it would be more efficient and then it would be performing about 5 to 10% better than the 16 Pro Max. But so far it looks like the 16 Pro Max is giving it tough competition to the 17 Pro Max. Now probably one of the most demanding apps that I use in my battery test videos is 3D Mark, which is a benchmarking app. As you can see, most of these phones are heating up and dimming down their displays, and I even tried turning on a fan nearby to cool them down, but that didn't work as well. Now as expected, the iPhone 12 and 13 were the first to go during this test because, like I mentioned, it takes a lot of battery while you're doing these tests back to back. And that's why you'll notice that by the end of the 4-hour duration, all the other phones are under 20% battery life except for the 16 and 17 Pro Max, and that shows how demanding this app is. Now the other two phones I want to discuss are the 14 Pro Max and the 15 Pro Max. As you might be noticing, they are not performing as well as you might have expected. Now one of the reasons, like I mentioned, is the fact that they have a lower battery health, which is 84% I think for the 14 Pro Max and 87% for the 15 Pro Max. Even then, I think this is a good thing for this video because people who might be upgrading from the 14 Pro Max or 15 Pro Max and have a lower battery health will get to see the real world difference of how much battery life improvement they might see if they upgrade to the 17 Pro Max. With that, let's discuss the results of this video, which might be surprising for a lot of you because you might have expected these phones to last 10, 12, 15 hours or so. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, I tend to use high brightness in all my battery tests. I tend to use 3D Mark, which is a very intensive battery draining app, and then video recording, so these phones never last that longer in my videos. Even then, these videos do give us a good idea of how these phones perform under extreme stress conditions. Anyways, at number 10 we have the iPhone 13, which lasted 3 hours and 44 minutes, which is good considering it was a really intensive battery test and it's 88% battery health. Had it been at 100%, it would have outlasted the iPhone 12, which lasted a few minutes more than the 13 at 3 hours and 57 minutes. And at exactly 5 hours, we have the iPhone 15 at number 8. 5 hours for this is pretty solid. At number 7, we have a bit of a shocker with the iPhone 17 lasting only 6 minutes more than the iPhone 15. Now I'm not sure why this happened, but I will give it a pass considering the iPhone had been set up the same day as the battery test video. At number 5 and 6, we have the low battery health iPhone 14 and 15 Pro Maxes. Both phones could have easily lasted longer than the iPhone 16 and iPhone Air had they been at full battery health. Now speaking of the 16 and Air, both phones were almost neck and neck and lasted about 5 hours and 22 minutes each, which once again is pretty damn solid for the Air. I'm really impressed with its performance. Then the iPhone 16 Pro Max, which once had a lead over the 17 Pro Max, lost by a few minutes and lasted 7 hours and 22 minutes. Finally, we have the battery champ, which is the iPhone 17 Pro Max. It outlasted every other iPhone in this test at 7 hours and 34 minutes. And that's it for this ultimate iPhone battery test video. Let me know what you guys think about the results. Comment down below if you have any questions. Subscribe, as you guys know these videos take a lot of effort to make, and I'll catch you all very soon in the next one.